Hey guys, and welcome back to the Movie Club Emporium. And if you watched last week's video, um, I, my infinite wisdom, cannot remember release dates because I really thought that Furiosa was coming out this weekend, but it's not. It's next weekend. So next weekend we'll have a video up for Furiosa. We may even have a joint review for Furiosa. But today I also want to talk about another new movie that I watched this weekend, and I gotta tell you, I went into it not really expecting a whole lot, but I ended up having a lot of fun, and that is the new film by Radio Silence called Abigail, or if you like, From Dusk Till Dawn, Ballerina Edition, which is perfectly fine. Again, I know a lot of complaints about this movie early on was like the trailer gives everything away, and it's like, yeah. I mean, it kind of gives away the fact that we are a group of criminals who kidnap a little girl who turns out to be a vampire. Um, and so I had the second half of the movie. We were in a vampire film, and on one hand, I I like the idea of the surprise of that, but much like even back when From Dusk Till Dawn came out, like how do you market that film? Um, with this one, it's like, oh no, that's just these character actors, playing these criminals, and they've kidnapped a child, and that's the movie. Like that doesn't sound fun. Uh, that hot doctor from that hit TV show and the guy who made Pulp Fiction take a family hostage into Mexico. And if you don't include plus vampires, they sound like oh, what am I watching? Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer? So I get why they had to do what they had to do. I will tell you this, even though you go into this movie knowing, hey, this little girl's a monster. Um, there are still quite a few twists and turns in it that I really did enjoy. I love this movie. It was a lot of fun. First and foremost, I have to praise the performance of Alicia Ware, who plays Abigail, because a lot of this movie, she's your monster, she's your villain. Um, she is I say villain. She's kind of like Stephen Lang and Don't Breathe. Where you're like, oh, he's terrible. I mean, they're terrible too. Like their it was unexcusable, but like they're a monster. Because she has to play both frightened little girl and like mouthy, like monster people eater, and she does it phenomenally. She's so good in this movie. It's so much fun watching her switch back and forth because our our uh our group of henchmen are not exactly the smartest group. Uh, and I do know there's a they don't have we do a cool thing with their names where because we're not giving our real names because that'd be dumb. Uh, whoever hires them, uh, and you see it in the trailer. It's Gus Fring himself, Juan Carlo Esposito. Uh, gives them all Rat Pack names. They're all the Rat Pack. Um, but no, the little girl, she's fantastic. Melissa Barrera, who I loved. I loved her in the last two Scream movies. I think her and Jen Ortega were the best parts of those two movies. Um, I do remember this movie was kind of like the reason why initially Radio Silence was having to delay making Scream 7. At that time being like I like Scream 6 so much. I think it had a great ending. But I would like to see the finale for their trilogy. Knowing now what we know, what's happened and what is happening with the Scream franchise, um, I'm kind of glad they broke away to make this. And I'm glad she kind of went with them. Uh, not by choice, obviously. The things that happened with Spyglass, you can look it all up online. It's kind of absurd, but just have her in this basically being tossed aside in that franchise is great for her because she is fantastic in this movie. Because she is kind of our uh, thunder. Um, our Jane. Like, compare it again with Don't Breathe. She's kind of our Jane Levy, where yes, she's helping kidnap this child. She's kind of doing it because she wants to protect her kid, but you can't do things like that uh, ever. Uh, but she's fantastic. Dan Stevens is amazing. I've loved Dan Stevens since The Guest. Uh, the fact that he's in this and he's in the new Kong movie, which I haven't seen yet, I'll probably get around to. But he's so fun and sleazy in this movie. And he's just a wild like New York accent. He's an absolute blast in this movie. You you know he's gross. Like I'm not mean like gross, but he just plays a sleazy criminal, and yet there's just something about him that's kind of cool. He plays it that way. It's so much fun. Uh, the other two big faces are Kevin Durand, uh, doing his real like Quebecois accent, which I didn't know he was Quebec until he started. I was like, man, he's really leaning into this French Canadian accent. Oh no, he is French Canadian. He just never does it in movies. He's fun as like this big dumb musclehead enforcer guy. He's partnered up with Catherine Newton, who is really kicking in with the new like the St. Joe Mama's Universal Monsters because she's also the main lead in Lisa Frankenstein. Uh, but they're all great. They all are, and then Angus is it Angus Fadden? I apologize. Unfortunately, that actor passed away while making this movie, and the movie is dedicated to him, and he has a pretty fun little role in it. But all in all, the group, the Rat Pack, are absolutely fun. They're great characters, and all the actors are just crushing it. Uh, there is a character that is kind of a spoiler. They talk about him in the movie enough to where you kind of expect to see him at one point, and that is Abigail's father. Now, supposedly this is supposed to be a loose remake of the 1936 film Dracula's Daughter. In that movie, there's a woman who plays Dracula's daughter, so that's kind of where the like the remake version, the loose remake of it ends. Because they never really come out and say that he's Dracula. He says he has a lot of names, but I think it is supposed to be implied that he is Dracula. And I love Matthew Good. Here's the thing: it's the only part of the movie where I was just like, that was a dumb choice. Um, is that he shows up, and so he's the main vampire. He's like this. He's only a vampire. He's like this super like mafioso type, you know, like a final boss in a John Wick movie type dude. And so I'm expecting to see like Matthew Good as like from like his like reprising his look from like Watchmen as Ozymandias, and instead he like shows up and he's got the teeth in, which is fine, but they have him in this weird like Kramer hair wig. Like it's really bizarre because you like expect this big grandiose vampire entrance, and he just kind of comes out and he looks like Cillian Murphy at the very beginning when he's playing like college age Oppenheimer with like this weird little like ratty hairpiece on. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, did Dracula run out of like pomade before he got out of his coffin? You need to slick that back, sir. Get a brush through that. It's kind of matte. But that's the only problem I had with it. I'll also tell you this movie is a lot of fun. There's a lot of great dark humor in it. But when this movie decides to get bloody, holy hell, does this movie get bloody? You know, even though watching it and laughing through a lot of it, when certain things happen that involve viscera, I was still sitting here like, holy, oh wow, because there's a lot of gore in this movie, and then in a fun way. Again, for a movie that I was just like, oh, okay, there's a girl over. Okay, that's fine. I mean, that looks fine. I like Radio Silence, kind of like Ready or Not. Okay, and then our theater got it for a week and then dumped it, and I didn't get to see it. And ooh, the mic probably didn't even pick that up, but I didn't get a chance to see it in the theater. I wish I had because this would have been a fun big crowd movie. Um, but I had a blast with this movie. It was an absolute fun time. And I do highly recommend it. This will definitely be on my list. I absolutely loved all hour and 49 minutes of it. It doesn't feel like it drags any. Once it ramps up and it gets going, it's just insane. And it's everything you kind of want out of a fun horror movie. And so I really commend these guys, and I really can't wait to kind of see what they do next. But that's it for my semi-spoilery, not really review of Abigail. Let me know what you guys think, because apparently I'm supposed to be asking for your engagement. So with that being said, you should click like and subscribe, then thumbs up, and smash that button. Get all those notifications. Do all that, because we do this every single week. Every Sunday, there's brand new videos popping up. Next Sunday will be, in fact, my review of Furiosa. Because it actually comes out next week and not this week. But then also coming up, we've got some more reviews for some new movies, some reviews for some movies we're playing catch up on. May 25th, join us over at our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/The Movie-Club Emporium, because Nick and I are breaking down our top 10 sports films. So if you want to talk about gridirons and goal unit baskets and all that other sports stuff, we're going to be over there doing that at 9 o'clock, 9 o'clock Central Time, Saturday, May 25th. With that being said, I will see you guys next week for Furiosa. And be nice to ballerinas. And if anything you can take away from this movie about vampires and stuff is don't kidnap. That's your life lesson. Bye.